Arsenal went to the home of the champions on Sunday and came away with 0 points from a 1-0 defeat. A result which left me and plenty of others frustrated, of course, with the lineup and with how they approached the game. But in retrospect, and in reflection, I actually think the discourse has gone way, way over the top. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for what is the first episode of the Arsenal News Show. Joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time, of course, with the transfer window closed, deadline day is over. We reinitiate our run through our Arsenal News shows. Of course, it's the same. It's just different name, same, you know what, it's that's just how it goes. And of course, the Arsenal transfer show will begin up again a month before the start of the January window. But of course, if there's ever any transfer news to discuss, we will always discuss it. But for today's Arsenal News Show, we're going to do things a little differently. And it is going to be something of a phone-in for people that are curious, of course, about getting their views heard this morning. It is going to be limited, of course, to the usual hour. But I'm going to kind of do this in something of a phone-in format today, where I kind of give you my thoughts and my feelings and set the stage, if you like, and then offer the opportunity, of course, for as many of you as we can within the 45 minutes that I imagine will remain to give your thoughts on that. And of course, while still taking comments from the comment section as well. But good morning to you all joining us today. Really appreciate your time. And I hope you've had a really good start to your week. You've made it to Wednesday, which means you're halfway through, of course, as well. If you could drop a like, we're going to try and reach 1,000 every single day. It's going to be a real challenge, I think, with the window now closed, of course. But I know that this community is very, very, very impressive. So if indeed you would like to jump into our chat box today and drop a like as well, maybe jump onto our call, of course, you're going to be able to do that. Although while I'm sitting here, I've realized that I've gone live and I've absolutely done zero of any of the usual stuff I should do. I've not clicked the playlists. I've not clicked any of the relevant buttons on the video. I've not added any tags on the video. And it's just coming to me now. I don't think I've even monetized today's video. So the freeloaders in the chat today got this without any adverts at the beginning. So I'm just not going to pay my bills this month. That's how it's going to work. But good morning to you all. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. I appreciate you being here. Good morning to those listening live in the chat box. Black Shine, Paul, Glenn, Steve, good to see you. We've got Rob and Paul. We've got Knowledge. We've got Steve Wells. We've got Allaway. We've got Jamil. We've got Martin and Grantley Poos. We've got Christopher. We've got Martin and Claire. We've got Mohammed and Jerome. We've got Barry. We've got Black Shine and Brian. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you happen to be in the world. Thank you so much, all of you, as always, for tuning in and for joining us. So yes, today's show is all about this man, Mikel Arteta, because over the last kind of, I think, 4 days, the swell of pressure, the discourse, the concerns, criticism, scrutiny, whatever words you want to kind of use, I think have gotten completely out of hand over the last 4 days. I sat down in that hotel room after the game and put my kind of raw thoughts on my Instagram page at Tom Canton Media. And there was definite frustration in how I was feeling. There was definite irritation in how I was feeling. I was frustrated with the choice of the lineup. I was frustrated with the conservative approach. I was frustrated with the lack of proactive changes at halftime or even early in the second half. I was frustrated by a lot of aspects of the game. But kind of in the wake of the fixture, the discourse around both Liverpool and Arsenal has kind of diverged based upon a miracle free kick, which was the only thing that separated, of course, the two sides. In my opinion, Liverpool played no better than Arsenal on Sunday. Arsenal were by far the better team in the first half, and Liverpool by far the better team. I say by far. Liverpool were the better team in the second half because they scored. But beyond the goal that they scored, they had the chance that was, of course, ruled out for offside. And in the first half, they had that opportunity that David Raya provided Van Dijk through a silly pass. And outside of that, they didn't really create anything. And yet, of course, Arsenal in the game had several opportunities. We had the chance created twice down the right-hand side to Madueke, of course, which created a decent opportunity. We had the run through midfield from Martinelli that should have led to a much better chance than it did. We had the Madueke chance, of course, from the set piece that Alisson saved very well. And we had the Eze opportunity in the second half where he arguably went down, feeling contact, and I would have perhaps liked to have seen him stay on his feet to take the shot. We also had a great opportunity when Eze played the ball into Odegaard and Gyökeres was kind of caught on his heels. And so for that reason, I'm kind of looking back at the discourse around this, and I can't help but think that things are going way over the top in regards to kind of the discourse. So I'm going to open the floor up, of course, to people. We're going to have a bit of a continuation of the conversation with the chat box, and then, of course, we'll invite some of our listeners on in part 2 to tackle this. But if, of course, you would like to phone in, and if you disagree with me, that would be ideal because I'm kind of struggling to see where people's anger are coming from. You know the rules, of course, by now. You need to have a webcam. You need to be 18 plus to get involved, as always, with these shows, and a quiet place to record. So not being outside, not being in a car while driving. You know the rules by now. That's it. I always feel like when I type a message to the chat box and I write the words webcam 18 plus, I'm just like, I really hope YouTube doesn't think I'm doing something very different when it comes to these phone-in shows. It's just the rules. But I'm always like, I wonder if the algorithm's picking up me typing these words into my chat box, because it does sound low-key a little bit weird, as Renee points out. It's a bit strange, isn't it? It's a bit strange, but it is completely nuanced and very genuine. But let's get some of kind of your thoughts. I mean, Paul says the Premier League champions, who are the player of the year, who have the most expensive goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and forward now in British football history, who spent 200 million in Arsenal, but Arteta must win now. Tayo says the pressure is good so that Arteta can be under no illusion as to the style of play that we yearn for as a fan base. So this is another element, I think, that's come out of this. And that's the style of play element. Like, people don't like particularly the way that we play. They don't particularly, subscribe to this idea that the way in which we kind of stifle oppositions and that we are a really difficult side to beat, but have something of a lack of kind of big chance creation is something always that I think we struggle with in these particular games. Not all games, but these particular games. I struggle a little bit again because Arsenal would go to these grounds and try and play some good football and get absolutely, utterly thrashed beyond measure. I've seen Arsenal try and play good football at games and just be destroyed. And football has changed, of course. Football's changed around how the tactics are deployed by managers, how teams initiate their ideas about what they want to achieve on the field. But Arsenal, of course, always under Arsene Wenger and during the end of his tenure, of course, still tried to play pretty football. And as a result, we got beaten. And Unai Emery came in and tried to establish his philosophy, despite the fact that he had a defence that was incredibly leaky. And it was, of course, undermined by that because he didn't address that well enough and ended up getting embarrassed on a number of occasions, including a European Cup final. And then Arteta has come in and recognised that issue immediately, and gradually we've had to overhaul the entire squad. So, again, I think the discourse around this. Rich says, we don't even get to Wembley anymore. We don't reach any finals. We aren't winning no trophies. He doesn't play plan B. He has stopped our players without freedom. I mean, Rich, the link's there, mate. I'd love you to call in and give me your thoughts, as I would Jason as well. Please do click that link and call in. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And we go to part 2 in just a second. But I could already see people queuing up to get involved in today's phone-in. Andy says, if it was Mourinho instead of Arteta, the British media would fall to their knees and do one. The Beautiful Game says, good morning, all. I disagree, though, with you, Tom. I was ready for the win last Sunday, and like most, wasn't happy. Arteta still keeps the handbrake on, and that was our 3 points of win defeat. I don't think we disagree, though, because I don't think I've said anything that disagrees at that point. I agreed with you. I agree with how we approached the game was too conservative. I agreed that we weren't proactive enough in our changes. I just think the discourse after the game is what has spiraled somewhat, considering how the game actually played out when it was separated only by a miraculous free kick. And two teams, of course, that had huge respect for one another, and arguably the result of the game didn't really reflect who the better team was on the day. I think both teams were equally as timid, equally as lacking in creativity as one another, and it was going to be in the end a snatch and grab, which is what I think Arsenal came for, and I would have liked to see them be a bit more proactive as a result. So I don't think we actually disagree at all. Ben says Liverpool and Arsenal played not to lose. That is the truth. It was not just Arsenal. Liverpool did the same thing. I think they win the league again because they are a team that just finds a way. Tamba says, hi, Tom. Good morning. You stated yesterday on the Hybrid Squad show that there is hatred on Mikel. Nobody hates Mikel. Oh, trust me. There is hatred. If you don't think people within the fan base don't hate Arteta, and there isn't a significant, probably too big, I think a small, loud minority that do hate Arteta, absolutely there is, Tamba. And I would, with respect, say to think that there isn't is naive. Andy says, yeah, Eze or Odegaard should have started instead of Mourinho, but how did... Well, I mean, Odegaard obviously couldn't, but I agree about Eze, if indeed he could have done, if not Waneri, certainly. But how did we get all them corners and better XG if we were so toxically bad? Damien says, I grew up watching us under George Graham and a solid defense. I loved our football under Wenger, but some of the embarrassing losses were traumatic. I like Arteta as football and a good, strong defense as well. Nifty Legend says, morning, Tom. Arteta needed to field a strong lineup to begin the game, go 1 or 2-0 up, and then, of course, sit back. And I think that's what they did try to do from a tactic standpoint. As I said, in the first half, they absolutely tried to be the more dominant team. They had more of the ball. They had more of the better chances. They had more of the touch in the opposition box. So that was clearly the plan in the first half. But the second half, he just didn't respond. He didn't react proactively enough. And that's kind of my issue. We're very shortly going to go to part 2 and get some of our callers involved in this as well. But just a couple more comments. Rolo says drawing games were the problem last year. In comparison to Liverpool last season, Arteta going in for another draw tactically is just not the intent we need. Well, obviously we drew at Manchester United last season, and we've won that game on the opening day of the campaign. So you can talk about a 2-point. We're already, of course, 1 point up on last season. We drew at Anfield last season, so we gained plus 1 point from there. Newly promoted teams, I think we beat all away from home last season. So the same amount of points in terms of Leeds United. And then, of course, we gained 2 more points on United compared to the points we gained last season. So we are a +1 net points compared to the games played from last season this season. But, of course, it is that defeat at Anfield that I think has generated this frustration. Alison says people do hate Arteta. Don't be naive. Exactly. Spot on. As also is spot on is to make sure that you protect yourselves, of course, when you're out there in the wonderful wide world, digital landscape that is, of course, the internet, and make sure that you are protecting yourselves from any potential snoopers and criminals that might want to be grabbing an IP address of yours to, of course, secure any online traffic or anything that you're doing, of course, while surfing the waves of the online world. And you can protect yourself with, of course, NordVPN. If you go to nordvpn.com/Gooner, you can get yourself a significant discount off a 1 or a 2-year plan. And if you're not happy with the service for whatever reason, you can get a 30-day money-back guarantee, of course. And not only that, but if you sign up for that 2-year plan, you can get 4 months extra thrown in free on top of that. I can't tell you how many times I've said the words thrown in free the wrong way around. I've said thrown in free. I've said thrown in 3. It's a hard sentence to say. So thrown in free on top of course, those 2 years already is what you're going to get. You can change your geolocation digitally so you can hop back to the UK or wherever your country of origin, of course, is where you can typically watch things that aren't available elsewhere in the world. It's a must to have one of these things in 2025. And if you are going to have a VPN, then Nord is absolutely the way to go. Well, let's go to part 2, our callers and more right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's show, which is going to be with, of course, it being the first Arsenal News Show of the new season, our phone-in show. So we're going to tackle some calls. I can't guarantee that everybody will get on, of course, because I've only got 45 minutes to try and get through as many of you as possible. The link to that phone-in is, of course, in the chat box now. It is the pinned comment. And, of course, it is also in today's video description. You might need to refresh for it to pop up. We're going to start with Miles today. Miles, how you doing, man? You good? You well? That's it. Get yourself tucked in, son. Talk to me.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I was trying to get set up today. I never knew I would actually come on first. How you doing?
That's all right, man. Sorry to put it on you straight
No,
away.
it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Tom, I won't lie to you. It's so annoying the way we overreact after just a loss to Liverpool team. One thing about me, I've learned to watch Arsenal game under Arteta and be so relaxed that at this point it's only going to take a mistake from us or something tricky like the goal that Szoboszlai scored that will take us to lose. I'm so confident in the way we always set up, because if you remember when he first came in, everybody wants us to go all out gun blazing because of the players that we have. And we get smashed. We get smashed 3-1, 4-1. Remember City, earlier days of Arteta. City, we get smashed 5-1 at home, 3-0 away. Despite the fact we were playing all out attack based on the players we had. But now, it's so much restructured that team in a way whereby we're so compact at the back. But offensively, we are better. We explore other weaknesses from the opponent, then we attack. If you look at the game at Liverpool, there is no way, if you flip your coin 10 times, that's the way that game is going to come. No, even Liverpool were so restricted. They were not going all out gun blazing like the way they normally do at Anfield. We all know the way they normally play. And we played the first half perfectly. They had their first corner 71st minute.
Yeah.
71st minute. But now, all of a sudden, we're boring. We're playing negative football. We're playing this. We're playing that. What do we want this man to do? And I'm so scared of something, The thing is this, if we so much run this man out of this club, I can bet it with you, we'll be jumping from one manager to the other. Just like United. Yeah, just like the way Chelsea were.
I think you raise a good point about the managerial situation.
Yeah, this players.
When you look at those other clubs like Man United, Tottenham, Chelsea, whatever, Arsenal, if they were to sack Arteta tomorrow, would be weaker as a result. There would be a weaker side as a result. And I don't know who it is that people think is going to come in and transform the way that Arsenal play so that they're going to suddenly go to Anfield and win. I don't see the manager that's out there that comes in immediately and changes that from my perspective. I just don't see who that is. And
I get you.
Sorry, just quickly, Miles, and I'll let you come back in. When it's kind of on this idea of Arsenal have to go and be more proactive, I look at this idea of the halftime changes. That is something that can be tweaked. That is something that, and to be honest, it's not necessarily something that I look at other managers and go, oh yeah, that guy's making changes at halftime. We should have him as manager. If we're thinking about all the reality is that this manager comes in and changes things, I just don't quite get
it. Exactly. A friend of mine was telling me something very, very funny. It was saying, and don't you see the way this Brighton coach? I always mixed up the guy's name. The Brighton coach's name. I always mix up the Ursula. Yeah, it was like, don't you see the way the guy brought in 4 players just because Man City was there for the taking? I was like, guy, listen, they're playing at home. I can flip it to you. If they were to be playing away, he will never make such substitution. Never. Even though if he can see clearly that, okay, fine, City are there for the taking, he will never. We need to be more under Arteta. We're more tactical. We're more like you said something earlier in the show. When I have players of the season, a goalkeeper like best goalkeeper in 2 years in a row, going 3 years in a row right now. Most of these guys are improved, and this only one game in 3. We're not even battered. We're not even messed up. And one thing I know about Arteta is he always takes his learnings. If you remember the way we started with City, the way we started with the likes of Chelsea, every season we keep improving, reducing the way we conceded goals, the way we play all these teams prior to now. Now, we can't even lose big six anymore. We don't even lose big six anymore.
Yeah, that was our first.
Is that not an improvement alone?
April 23.
And I'm saying something. There's no manager we're going to bring right now. I'm saying 100% that will turn us around. We're definitely going to be flip-flopping from one manager to the other till we are nobody anymore. Now, every season, everybody looks at us like title contenders. I know we need to get over the line. We will. We will, but we just need to be patient because now the social media is so messed up that everybody wants us to just destabilize the team, take Arteta out, pick this one in, pick this one out, then they will now become a laughing stock again.
Miles, I think you speak passionately, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, and I appreciate your patience in ringing in. Thank you. Pleasure to speak to you, mate.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much. I love your show, and I always log on to it every morning.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much. That. Enjoy the rest of your day, man. Lovely stuff. Let's get George on next. George, man, how you doing? You good? You well?
Yeah, very well. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. What do you make of this? Do you think that there has been an overreaction in the wake of the Liverpool game?
I think probably yes. My reaction to the Liverpool game was quite simple. I think if you look at our squad, the squad that we had available, we were missing Saka, we were missing obviously Odegaard, Eze off the bench. Saliba got injured within 5 minutes. You were missing Havertz, you were missing Jesus, you were missing Norgard, you were missing White. Yeah. If you ask any other top team, take out 3 or 4 players from their starting 11 and go to Anfield and see what sort of time they have there. I think they're all going to struggle. So I think the way that we managed the game in the first half, I came away at halftime thinking that is a very, very good away performance.
Yeah.
At halftime, I was calling for Eze to be brought on.
Yeah, me too.
And potentially Odegaard as well. I think when you're a manager like Arteta, who in these situations, it seems that he goes for a more pragmatic approach. And I understand why. You look at his record over the last 2 years, and we're unbeaten against those who are around us in the top 6. Yeah. So I seem to go with him and the statistics on this one. So I sort of backed the starting 11 with the options we had available. But I thought we could have gone for it.
Yeah.
I thought Liverpool, they haven't started the Premier League particularly well, even though they've got the points to show for it. And I thought they were there to be got at. And that's my only criticism of the manager. I thought that the changes were made just slightly too late. And at that point, you're allowing for a moment of magical brilliance, of which we've seen from Salah in the past. We've seen from Ekitike in the first couple of games. So when you're playing against a top team like that, and you leave it to sort of... He was being quite reactive instead of proactive, which I was quite shocked about, to be honest with you. So it's very hard to say, are the fans overreacting? I think we've got to a stage now in our development as a team. We've been together 3, 4, 5 years, a lot of the core, and they want to see us get over the line. Now, my argument would be, you don't have to win at Anfield and you don't have to win at the Etihad to win the Premier League. Although the big and the best teams that we've seen in the past who have done it have usually gone to those clubs and won. So,
City won the league after losing to us at the Emirates, and Liverpool obviously drew at the Emirates last season and won the league. So neither of the teams that won the league in the last 2 seasons won at the team that came second, to be fair.
Listen, I don't really have an opinion here.
I'm just adding nuance.
No, I agree. I agree. I do remember, though, the Pep and the Klopp era and the games they had against each other. It seemed like both teams wanted to win the game instead of one team showing up really not wanting to lose. So I understand the entertainment level of that. And they didn't think about the consequences of losing that game. They just thought, I want to go there and win and make a statement. And I feel like now with Arsenal are at that point where we should be able to do that. I think that if we had those players available...
that was going to be my question. I was going to say, if he had Odegaard fit from the start, if he had Saka available, just those two, do you think that we would have seen a very different approach to the game?
It's so hard to say. My gut tells me probably yes, but from the reaction of all the fans, they would say no.
I hear that.
But it's a hard one. I thought, listen, it was a moment of absolute class, and sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and just say, fair play. What a great goal that was, and it got them the 3 points. And I think the courage that they showed, Liverpool, having not played well, and to still go and want the 3 points from the game, it's commendable. Fair play to them.
See, that point I'd slightly disagree with George, because I didn't get that feeling from Liverpool. I think that the way in which the game played out in the second half, they had more of the ball, and we certainly were more so inside our own half, just as the way the game was kind of evolving. But Arsenal limited them to incredibly little in that second half as well. Obviously, they had the goal that was ruled out, which I think came from a kind of a pass into the midfield, and then it split kind of Rice and Zubi. It went out to the left and then brought back into Wirtz, who had that shot that was then deflected onto Gakpo, who was offside. Beyond that and the free kick, they didn't create any meaningful chance beyond that. They had more of the ball, but we dealt with it really well, and we tried to hit on the break. We actually had an excellent chance through Eze, in the second half that I think he should do more with in that moment rather than go down. I think he should try and take the shot on. I think it's probably just some first game nerves or anything like that. I just wanted to, make the right call in that moment. But I think I just think because Liverpool ended up winning and they scored with this free kick and won the game, it's kind of clouded our memory of what actually happened in the game. And I felt like if the game had finished 0-0, as it probably should have done, because I don't think either team necessarily deserved to win it, based upon what we saw from both of them, I think the conversation obviously is very different. So the problem that I have is, George, is that I can't get on board with the idea that a miraculous free kick that separated the two teams should this drastically change the conversation about what actually happened in the fixture.
No, I don't disagree. I think that I do a little bit of my coaching myself, and I think that all goals, you want to stop the ball from moving in central areas, because that's where the goal is, right? Obviously, they're very dangerous out on the right-hand side with Salah, etc. But that central area, you want to stop the ball from penetrating. And I feel like as the game went on, Van Dijk found a way to play those central passes too often. And we spoke about those in the squad who weren't available. I think Norgard was a massive miss. And the reason I say that is because Zubimendi looked tired. Yeah. And that foul for the free kick looked like a tired foul.
Yeah.
And potentially, if he went slightly more adventurous with his lineup in the midfield, you could be bringing on a Marino, and that could have given us more energy instead of necessarily him playing from the start, playing in the Odegaard role, therefore setting the pressing trap and sort of expending loads of energy. So yeah, that would be I agree with you in terms of it shouldn't set the narrative, and I think Arteta's built up such a good reputation in those big games where if Arsenal fans are being level-headed, that narrative shouldn't change. But I do think he could have approached the game, and even within the game, at half-time, right, we were totally in the game. We were controlling the tempo of the game, I thought. So that 20 minutes after half-time, I think Liverpool and their fans were thinking, God, we could be under the cosh here if Arsenal come out and really, really try and win the game.
Yeah.
We didn't do that, and that allowed the Liverpool fans to get behind their team and to really believe that there was something in it for them. So I thought that was slightly reactive from Arteta and the coaching staff, and I think that potentially might have cost us.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think the reason why Arsenal didn't win this game was because of the lack of proactive changes that we didn't make at halftime, or at least earlier in the second half, to recognise the fact that we would, surrender in possession far too easily at the start of the second half, and allowing Liverpool to kind of build and grow. And we didn't respond early enough. And he just kept on keeping faith with this idea of, I think that what he wanted to happen was to keep the game level to as late as possible, bring on Odegaard and Eze, and try and snatch it. I don't agree with people that say Arteta went here to get a draw. I don't think that's true at all. I think Arteta went there to win. We just don't agree with the way in which he went there to win. And the way in which he went there to win was to try and snatch a victory, when instead I think a lot of us would rather he went there to try and grab hold and really make a statement. So, yeah, I think the argument that Arteta had no interest in trying to win this game, or we didn't want to win this game, or whatever, or that Liverpool wanted to win it more. I don't even think Liverpool wanted to win it more based upon the whole performance of the game. I think they were actually quite quite scared of Arsenal in the first half in particular, and really scared of dropping points in this fixture and dropping a defeat in this fixture. But as you rightly point out, they were encouraged by what they saw from Arsenal at the start of the second half in particular, and they were encouraged by the fact that we didn't respond and didn't bring on our attacking players soon enough. George, I'm going to move on to our next caller, but I really appreciate your time, pal.
All the best, mate. Take care.
Thanks, mate. Pleasure. Eugene is next on my list. How you doing, Eugene? You good? You well?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
No problem at all. Are you in a stairwell?
Yes.
It's like he's sitting on the stairs. Tell me, Eugene, what is it you're thinking about regarding this conversation?
I think with Arteta, it's just that it's too risk averse. Okay. And having this kind of a manager, of course, we've seen. If you look back in 2020-2023 season, of course, we can say no, we had this Saliba injured, but he could have done better. Because even now, we're expecting him to do better at Anfield. All of us were expecting to do, because we had Eze, Wanyeri, that he would have played in 10, but he chose Merino, and in the end, we lost the game. So if you look back, I'm thinking, if we were to even get a Crystal Palace manager, this Oliver Glasner, he can do better than Arteta, because Arteta is more into no, I shouldn't lose. I mean, if you look at the game that Liverpool played with Newcastle and was it Bournemouth? You see their coach, their coaches. They were 2-0 down, but they fought. And if you look at the way the two teams lost the game, of course you can look back and say, no, we enjoyed the game. But with Arteta, you find that when you are watching the game, it's too boring, too risk-averse.
Why is Glasner, who finished 12th in the Premier League last season, below Fulham, below Brentford, below Bournemouth, below Brighton, below Forest, below Villa, below Newcastle, why is he the answer when Arteta has finished second place, for instance, 3 seasons in a row? And of course, even last season when a team like Palace, for instance, didn't have to deal with the issues that Arsenal dealt with, of course.
Look at the types of players that he has. He's able to get the best out of those players. And
you think that team is reflective of 12th place in the league?
Yes, they are not. I mean, you can't compare them to Arsenal. Arsenal has quality players.
Well, you're comparing their manager to Arsenal's manager.
Yes,
so
but the manager is able to get the average players and win something at the end of the day.
I disagree that he got the maximum for those players. I think he did in the FA Cup. I think if he hadn't have won the FA Cup last season, then I don't think his name would be being talked about at all.
Look at the way he plays when he meets, like he's playing with Man City or Liverpool. Look at the way he set up his team. Even like right now, if you watch the Crystal Palace game and Arsenal game, you find that the way Crystal Palace play their game is much more enjoyable, and there is purpose to it as compared to Arsenal. Arsenal, we have quality players. I mean, if you look at our team, we say our defense is the best. But why do we still, in certain games, we're playing 2 DMs? Why are we doing that when our defense is the best? Why can't we just allow our team to attack and win? And we enjoy the game. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to enjoy than this boring football that we watch.
So you'd rather lose but enjoy the game than win and not enjoy the game?
You can lose whilst fighting than you are too conservative and lose. What's the purpose? Because if you compare, let's compare the 2 games, the Arsenal Liverpool and Newcastle Liverpool. Which game do you think was enjoyable? Which game do you think the teams wanted to win more?
Well, when you talk about, you can't compare things. Newcastle obviously went down to 10 men inside the first half, right?
Yes.
And they're already losing at this point 2-0 or 1-0, I think it was, when they went down to 10 men.
Yes.
And they fought back from those goals down. Liverpool quite poor, in the second half because they've allowed a 10-man Newcastle to really dominate them. They've got nothing to lose at this point. They're already down to 10 men. They're already losing the game. So I personally looked at that game and thought Arne Slot was incredibly lucky, mate. Incredibly lucky. And when Newcastle got back to 2-2, what Eddie Howe should have done was sit in. As soon as he got that second goal to get to 2-2, He should have
Yes,
sat and
yes,
taken
yes,
the draw.
yes. I agree. At maybe
You
around
don't agree.
1-0.
You just said that you want
No.
attack.
There was a point. There was a point they needed to sit back at 109 at minute 109. They were supposed to just sit back and make a back
Not
five.
109. It was, I think, on 89 when they got the second goal.
No,
That
wouldn't have worked. That wouldn't have worked because the added time was 10 minutes, which was too much. So you can't just sit back with 10 minutes. But at least you need to find a way.
Of course you can. When you're down to 10 men against the champions, you absolutely, when you've just worked your absolute arses off to get back to 2-2 with 10 men, you should be looking to try and claim the draw, not instead opening yourselves up to potentially being hit by the best counter-attacking team in the league. Like, you just shouldn't do that. And that's why they lost.
You can, but there has to be timing at the end of the day because, I mean,
you're arguing for a team that lost.
Yes, but they lost honorably, like Arsenal.
I don't want to lose honorably, mate. I want to win, however.
But you mean, can we win? Are you telling me that we would have won that game at Anfield?
Yeah, I think we absolutely could have won that game.
No. It's
Liverpool.
No? It's Liverpool. It's Liverpool. If you've seen in the second half, you realize that Liverpool was more purposeful in terms of going
Who was
ahead
more
to win.
purposeful in the first half?
It's us, but we didn't have anything to show for.
Right, but the only reason that Liverpool had something to show for it wasn't because they were purposeful. It's because they scored a wonderous free kick.
I think if you notice how they changed the game, Wes went to the left hand, started playing in the left hand side, and he started enjoying the game more. If you've seen, there was that change when they made the substitution, and I realized to say no, I think something will happen now. But come to our team, I think we have a good team now. We need to do more out of these teams.
You want Glasner in instead of Arteta?
Right? He can. I mean, we've seen how far Arteta can take. Let me give you one example.
I'd love to know an example about Glasner in particular because he's kind of what I'm focusing in on. So, what is it about?
He's a risk taker. He's a risk taker. But let me give you.
What formation does he play? What formation did he play at Villa that got him that 3-0 win?
In terms of formation, I don't know.
You want this guy in?
But
I just
in terms of,
if you want this guy, if you want to sack the manager at Arsenal that has taken them to where we are now, but you're not happy with how they're playing, and you're so adamant that you want Oliver Glasner to come in, all I want to know is the formation he played in his last game. That's all I want to know. To know that genuinely you've really thought about the manager that you're bringing in. What was the formation that he played at Villa?
I'm not so sure in terms of formation, but that's not the point. What I would want to say is, if you mean you can compare the two managers, you can see that this one is a risk taker, this one is risk averse. So in terms of utilizing the players that you have in order to win, because at the end of the day, the end game is to win a trophy. That's the end game. Because you can't just be satisfied with second. You need to win something at the end of the day. So if you compare the two managers, you see that this guy is a risk taker. This one is a risk averse. He's too comfortable. Look at the way he behaves in certain games. If we are 1-0 down or 2-0 down, you find that he will bring on players that he doesn't even play. He's like he becomes confused. So how do you, like, for example, like let's say Arsenal goes down maybe in the 70th or 8th minute, you find that you bring on a player that is normally on the bench. He doesn't come on very often, and expect something to change. Look at last season, the way things were. You find that maybe
one example of that situation. So an example of like where he's gone 1-0 down or 2-0 down in a game. What game do you remember last season where that happened?
There's Zinchenko. You find that Zinchenko never used to play so many games, but in certain games where 1-0 down, you bring on Zinchenko, you bring on this player just to make something happen. Or he's been keeping Wanyeri on the bench. If we're 1-0 down, we are losing. He brings on Wanyeri, but you've not been playing this guy. So how do you expect? So the best is play these players. Even when you want them to do something, when you are 1-0 down, they'll be able to do something. And like,
is it not a risk to bring on? Is it not a risk to bring? I mean, Wanyeri, of course, when Saka got injured, he didn't play Trossard off the left and move Martinelli to the right. He played Wanyeri on the right, didn't he?
Yes, learn to take risks. It's better you try something than not trying.
I think the biggest risk is suggesting that the manager that finished 12th in the Premier League last season is the guy that's meant to take Arsenal to the title. You know,
he can, because we've seen with his average most of the players at Crystal Palace, they are below average, but he is able to bring something out of them.
I don't think that's very fair on the team. I think Crystal Palace have got a really good. I actually think they underachieved last season in terms of their finish in the table.
But can you compare? Can you compare Crystal Palace team to Arsenal? Which one?
I don't have to, because I compare the Crystal Palace team to the teams that are around them, and I think when you've got Jean-Philippe Mateta and you've got Eze and you've got Munoz and you've got Lacroix and you've got Mark Guehi, when you've got Adam Wharton in midfield, I think that you absolutely should be finishing higher than 12th in the Premier League. You should be finishing higher than Brentford. You should be finishing higher than these other teams. Yes, I don't have to compare him to Arsenal. I'll compare him to the teams that he failed to finish above last season based upon the resources that he had available to him. So that's what I'll do, is I'll compare the players that he had, which were in many cases top players, and ultimately failed to reach a top half finish, when at the start of the season, a lot of people last season were pinning Crystal Palace on finishing in the top half of the table. The FA Cup is a very different style of competition to the Premier League. A cup competition, a knockout competition, is a very different style of competition. And under Arteta, obviously, last season, Arsenal reached the Champions League semi-final, beating Real Madrid 5-1 and getting to that semi-final. Obviously, got to the League Cup semi-final as well on the way there. So, and of course, despite the fact that they were missing 27 players throughout the season with separate injuries. So I struggle with the Glasner thing, because I just think it's just flavour of the month for me. I think the same with Inzaghi last season.
In conclusion, actually, if you will see that Glasner has more experience than Arteta. He can do something. He can do something.
So does Harry Redknapp. I'm not bringing him back, mate. So
Yeah, but if even you know that I think Oliver Glasner can do better than this Arteta. I mean, we've tried him. Okay, let me ask you a question. Because definitely, I know that keeping Arteta, come May next year, Arsenal will not win any trophy.
Okay.
So if come next year, what are we going to do about Arteta if we won't win any trophy?
We'll have to wait and see what happens, won't we? We'll have to see why that's happened.
No, for how long are we going to give excuses?
What?
For how long are we going to give excuses?
So the excuse argument is always horrendous, because anyone who says, how long are we going to give excuses for, is somebody that cannot reason an argument. It's someone that cannot reason an argument. The reason why Arteta stayed in the job last season, because of what he achieved with the players available to him. This season, we cannot make a decision 3 games into the season based upon a hypothetical. You just can't. You can't do that, because it's just silly. It's like someone saying to you, I don't know what you do for a job, but if someone turned to you and said, if you don't reach this quota by the end of this year, you're going to get sacked. And you go, oh, that's not really fair. What if XYZ happens? And they're like, no, if you don't get there, whatever happens, you're gone. Whatever happens, you're gone, man. And you're like, that's a bit unfair, isn't it? You're gonna cost me my job because I've not reached. What if something horrendous happens? What if I have to miss loads of work because of XYZ reasons? This idea that people want a binary answer 3 games into a season of saying, if he doesn't do this, he has to go. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke, mate.
So if you won't win any trophy, come May next year.
Are you going to ask me the same question? Or just go on, ask me.
Come in, because my thinking is that we can't be 6 years into this project and we've won one FA Cup. So for how long should we wait? For how long should we wait for us to win something major?
It depends on how competitive we are, mate. Because if you go into every single season being one of the teams that is competitive, that can potentially win any competition it enters, which Arteta has, of course, taken Arsenal to becoming again, then as soon as we fall away from that, that's when I'd have the conversation about him as manager. If Arsenal are going backwards, if Arsenal are no longer competitive, if Arsenal are no longer in the picture for any of these competitions, then that's the moment when you make that decision. It's not when you're finishing second and getting to semi-finals on a consistent basis. It's not when you're moving in that direction. You make the decision to get rid when you're not moving in that direction.
So no trophy. No, it's okay. We need to
you look at football in a binary way, and I don't. That's just the difference between us.
Needs to agree to disagree at the end of the day.
I'm happy to do that, mate. 100% happy to do that.
Cheers.
That's fine. Eugene, pleasure. Speak to you soon. Raf, save me. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I was just listening. Eugene's funny. Am I going mad? Like, nah. I think what happens is, and I don't know if it's just like the social media thing, and there becomes a name that's like a fad. And don't get me wrong, Glasner could well become excellent manager, be a good manager, but I don't see the like, oh yeah, he's the guy that solves every problem. Like I don't really prescribe to that. I think he's good. I think he's a good manager. Don't get me wrong. And what he's done with Palace is good. It's admirable. But yeah, to just assume that now he's going to come in, change the system. He plays 3-4-3. Now we're going to just now change the system, do all of that, and it's just going to work. I don't prescribe to that. I think
I'm happy to move on from the Glasner thing. I think I've raised enough points. I think I raised enough points about the Glasner. You know, he won the FA Cup, brilliant achievement. You know, I didn't want Eric Ten Hag when he won the FA Cup, quite frankly. So, exactly. You know, I think he underachieved in the Premier League Glasner last season with the team that was at his disposal. I think there was a lot higher expectations around Crystal Palace and what they would achieve in the league, and they finished in the bottom half. But what he did in the FA Cup was excellent and a great achievement. And it's not surprising because of the quality in that squad that they had available to them. You know, I backed them to beat Manchester City. So, yeah, let's move on to kind of what we were talking about before. Do you feel like there's been an overreaction in the wake of the game at the weekend?
It's going to sound weird, but yeah and no. I think that in terms of the game in isolation, I think that there's a lot of analysis that is not actually on the game. I think that the analysis is based on the overall feeling of Liverpool and the overall feeling of Arsenal from the narrative and that obviously we don't play like Schmeichel, like nonsense like that. Like I think it's clear in that game because I watched it again yesterday. First half we bossed them, like literally completely nullified anything that they had. We had the majority of the openings, and the second half they were better, but it wasn't as though they like opened us up and like, you know, we were just hanging on for dear life. There was a little bit where it got towards the end where there was a couple of like clearances in the box and it got a little bit, but nothing. When you think of Liverpool, you think Salah's had 4 or 5 opportunities.
I think we kept it very quiet. In the game.
Like they didn't do anything. Like if you look at their big players, their big attacking players, none of them had good games. And I think that's a testament to the team. But I think that, in a sense, I think what the issue is and what the kind of I think the angst is it didn't seem like we really tried to like really go for the game. And I think ultimately that's what it is. Like, and I think when you looked at the team initially, Merino in isolation, it's not like the worst player to start in that situation as away at Anfield. But I think it's what it shows.
It's a metaphor of what it means.
And it's just a bit unimaginative. It's not necessarily going for it. And I think the biggest criticism I would that I would give, and I think I was listening to Vision as well. I think it's just that we weren't proactive in subs. I think it was clear. All right, you may have thought of the way that the game was going to go. The game state looked like it changed. And we could have gone for it. I think half time, you could have brought Eze on, or even at like 55 minutes. And I know that the Mosquera sub probably it probably kind of like affected maybe what he was going to do. But I would hazard a guess that those subs were going to be made before the game started. Like Eze and Ødegaard were going to come on later, 66 to 70th minute.
The thing is, though, Raf, I think obviously we're not privy to obviously all the information. So like we don't know how fit either of those two are. But the thing is with me is that I do know Ethan Nwaneri was fit. We know he was fit. So when it comes to like the lineup and the subs, I think the bigger reason why we didn't win the game isn't the starting lineup. The bigger reason we didn't win the game is because of how we responded in the second half or didn't respond in the second half. That for me is the bigger reason. But what I want to know from people, and I still haven't yet got an answer, Raf, is that I don't know what people wanted to see in terms of like what realistically the performance had to be from us to come away from there and go, oh, we did it. Like what I mean by that is that, you know, that opportunity where like Zubameni flicks the ball in behind to Madueke, cuts back and his shot is deflected. Like, let's just say hypothetically that shot goes in and Arsenal go 1-0 up in that game from that chance, which is a good chance in the game. Or let's say still at 0-0, I believe, Eze gets the ball in the box and fires the ball near post past Alisson. We go 1-0 up in the 70th or 75th minute or whenever it was that he gets there before the Szoboszlai free kick. Like the discourse around the game, if those two things go in, obviously is completely different. And I don't like talking about ifs, buts, and maybes or whatever, but I'm trying to get into the head of fans that say we should have gone for it, because I don't necessarily know what that looks like at Anfield against the champions that's realistic to expect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the simple answer in what you're saying is when you win, the narrative is completely different to when you lose. And when you lose, unfortunately, it's that Liverpool showed the mark of champions and we didn't go for it enough. I think what fans would have wanted to see is Eze start. Obviously, we don't know how fit he is, but all we can assume is he's trained, had a pre-season with Palace, played the first two games, played the first game, and has trained with us for a week. So he could have started potentially. Alternatively, Ethan, there's a mixed opinions about how he played. I thought he played really well against Leeds. I think there was a couple of things he could have done better, but overall, I think it was a good performance or a positive performance. So you could have played Ethan. I understand why you didn't, but that would have been a positive performance. And then even if you didn't, which is perfectly understandable to play Marino and be solid, when you see how the game's going, you could have been more proactive in substitutions and said, maybe we go earlier with Ødegaard and Eze, or just one of them. Maybe we make a sub at half time because Martinelli was clearly not at the races. And I get it. Again, maybe it was defensively. He thought, you know what, let me make sure that we're solid defensively. Martinelli gives Calafiori adequate cover. But then I think this is the problem. And I did want to actually raise this with you because obviously you're in the I'm just saying that you're in the pressers. And if
please do, because this is always one of the points that gets raised to me, and I'm like, I don't know where you're going to go with it. To be fair, it might not be what I'm thinking. But
give it. I was going to say that if you listen to Arteta, a lot of the time he talks about, like he says, we didn't give them anything, and he talks about what he restricted
I've said this
other
before,
teams to, but he never talks about kind of like we didn't make enough of the chance. Like he may make reference like we had 4 openings, but it's like we're talking about really kind of high level. We had a chance to shoot and we didn't, or it blocked, or we made the wrong pass. And it's like we didn't have many chances.
He's a probability manager, is what he is.
Yeah, and I don't ever get the sense that he's looking at him thinking we should have made more chances. And I think that's the kind of allegory of Arteta as a manager. Where it's like, okay, I've stopped them from doing what they wanted, so it's been successful. And I think the team or the fans probably want someone that's gonna look at things and be like, we didn't do enough with what we had, even though we bossed them, even though we stopped them and restricted them, we didn't make enough of that. And I think sometimes if that was the discourse from him, it might make fans feel like, you know what, at least there's learning behind this. Because I think
so Arne Slot is a manager that isn't like Arteta. Arne Slot is a very different manager to Arteta, where he will just focus on Liverpool. He will just focus on getting Liverpool to play to the best of their capabilities. And then during a game, if the opposition is stifling them or stopping them from doing that, he'll make a change not to respond to what Arsenal or the opposition are doing. He will make a change in which he thinks he can change something in the mechanism about how they're playing to get more from the current team. Whereas Arteta is a probability manager where he looks at a game and thinks, what is it that we have to do to give us the best possible chance of getting something here? And in his mind at Anfield, he felt that we had to go there, be physically strong, win the duels, get the hold of the ball in turnovers, and potentially snatch the game with a chance. And when you've got a striker like Gyökeres, you have more instinct to think you might be able to do that now with a player like that who can score, who can have a pretty poor game, but if he gets one chance and scores it, you can come away with 3 points. And that's the crux of it for me, for Arteta, is that I need to see more emphasis on making us the best us that we can be, rather than going into games thinking, how do I give us the best chance of beating this team? Just make us as best as we can be, rather than making us the best chance we have at beating this particular opposition.
And also, I think, and it's a really good point what you said, and I think that even lends to the signings that we've made in some. And I don't want to get into all signings, but even just how high he was on maybe a Kai Havertz or a Madueke. It's based on the metrics that give you the highest shots, highest dribbles, and it's maybe not. Does he always have the ability to wrap it in the top corner, or has he got that actual technical ability that puts him in the topper echelon compared to maybe someone else who's a slightly lower, but doesn't like land high on all those probability or metric tables. But I think what you're saying is really good. And I think that even in terms of the games, it's 88 minutes or so. You bring on Dowman, you take off Madueke. Madueke's probably been our best attacker, but you don't want to change the shape in case Liverpool maybe like it destabilizes us and they score on the other end. But we're already 1-0 down. It's like,
yeah, I thought the Dowman substitution really hung himself out to dry with that. I really thought
it was just a Hail Mary, and
it was a Hail Mary. It was just and I think he did more damage to his own rep by bringing Dowman on than because all it did to me was say, oh, so you're comfortable not starting Waneri in this game, but you're comfortable enough to bring on a 15-year-old to try and grab you a point at Anfield after you've gone 1-0 down. That was a real issue for me, that the Dowman sub. Like,
my thing is, it's 88 minutes now. We're not gonna. We need to score. If we lose 1-0 or 2-0, I mean, what's the difference? We still lost. Bring on Waneri. Even if you brought on Waneri and Dowman and said, you know, we're going to sacrifice Rice or Zubimendi. He shattered any. Zubimendi looked like he was a bit tired towards the end of the game anyway.
Yeah,
we're just going to go for it because we have to. Let's put on more attacking players that give us the opportunity to score. It just felt a little bit like, well, all right, I'm going to bring on an attacker, but we can't sacrifice our shape just in case. And it's like, I think that's to me anyway, that was my frustration. It's like, I'm hoping that you're learning from this. Like, some things are going to be about instinct and being proactive and saying, do you know what, this is the way the game's going. Let me change so that we have a better opportunity to win the game, rather than ultimately we didn't give them anything, so we're actually doing well. And that's what I came away with, where I feel like, although the game in itself, we were definitely the better team in the first half, and we still restricted them, but for an amazing strike. Yeah. I don't know if there's that impotence to actually say we need to win this game and set a marker. And I think that's the thing I'm struggling with. That's the kind of that's the thing where I look at it and I think, I hope you're learning. And I don't know if he is at the minute. Like,
I think we'll know over the course of the season, to be honest. I think we'll know by the end. Raf, thank you for calling in, mate. I really do appreciate it. And nice to catch up, right? Always.
Yeah, always, mate. Cheers.
Speak to you soon. Lovely stuff. I've only got time for two more because I need to get going soon. I've got two on my at the front, which are Bayledge and John Mavroudis as well. I'm really sorry to everybody else who's been waiting patiently. I can't get around to. I really do apologise, and I hope you don't take it personally. It's just who I've got up on my list of who's next on the call. So sorry that I couldn't get to everybody else, but Bayledge is going to be up first. Then it's going to be John. Thank you everyone else, of course, that's been listening as well, and it's been really good kind of varied views we've had so far. So Bay, how you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Good morning to you. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not bad, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Been listening to the show, and I'm glad to be on because I've been listening to you for a few years. So yeah,
thanks, man. Appreciate
this
it.
This is real interesting.
Tell me, man. Tell me where your head's at.
You know, a couple points you made today. You said, "Oh, you kind of don't understand why certain Arsenal fans or like what certain Arsenal fans are expecting when it comes to."
Yeah, I'd like you to kind of paint me the picture, if you will, of what you expect going into Anfield from Arsenal, like what it looks like. Yeah.
Brilliant. Nah, that's fair, and I understand where you're coming from. Now, for someone like me, obviously I can't speak for the rest of the fan base, but for someone like me, I've very much been an Arteta fan for.
Right.
In fact, the manager, I'm more of a manager guy. You know what I mean? Like I rate the manager. If the manager's done what he needs to do, if there's proof in the pudding, give him some time. Right. So that's the sort of guy I am. Now, when it comes to Arteta and this season, I kind of feel like, for me personally, as much as the fan base is split, I kind of feel like I'm on the fence when it comes to what I'm expecting from Arteta. So going into Anfield, you stated, "Oh, what are we expecting?" Now, I'm expecting to field an attacking lineup.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind what we have just signed in regards to Eberechi Eze, and we are down in our attack with Saka and Odegaard. And just like you just finished your dialogue there, Arteta putting on Dowman at the 88th minute just kind of showed you his mindset.
Yeah.
Like putting on a 15-year-old when the game is practically done and we have not, there is no threat there. We haven't really made any threat in regards to the entire match up until Eze got onto the pitch. Now, we have Eze and we have Odegaard on the pitch, but it took you around about 70 minutes to put those guys on. Now, if your game plan is to go to 70th minute at 0-0, personally, I think that's a terrible game plan, because now,
do you think that was what the game plan was?
I mean, I can't say any different, because that's what he showed us. Now, you go to Anfield fielding a very defensive team with Moreno, Zubamendi, Rice, and in my personal
defensive
opinion,
midfield. I don't know if it was a defensive team, but it was a defensive midfield, because Julian Timber and Calafiori both played very high. Calafiori in particular was playing very high up.
And I heard his press conference referring to them as
well. That was my question. So yeah. That's that, because I said to him, in hindsight, do you think you picked a too conservative midfield? Like, that's what I asked him, and that's what he said.
Yeah, no. So he stated Timber and Calafiori are attacking fullbacks. Now, I don't know if I've ever heard that before. Personally, I don't know if you think the same way. If Timber and Calafiori,
I don't think they're wing backs, I'd say. I don't think they're Jeremy Frimpong and Kirkes, that's for sure. Yeah.
Like, it's like he pulls certain things out of the air that are just a bit ridiculous sometimes.
Yeah, he absolutely does. Like, I remember when he said, I think it was the first press conference of the season, he said that we've accrued the most number of points of any team of the last 3 seasons. We haven't. Man City have. Like, he just says things sometimes. I'm just like,
what does that even mean? Like, you know that we've been second this entire time, and of course, to Arteta's mindset, we accrued the most points. But then again, you have certain instances like when he's at the press conference, and to me, it looked like he was picking on Eze when he spoke about Eze's chance and Eze should have shot. And I'm thinking, bro, you don't do that to Martinelli. I haven't seen you do that to Martinelli once over the last 4 years, or an Odegaard, or a Saka. You know what I mean? There's so many other players that
I'm intrigued by this quote. I'm gonna do a little bit of digging on this, because I think he has. I think he has said things about like Havertz and Martinelli and Sean. And I think because the Eze things come up now, I think it's easy for us to say that he hasn't. So I'm going to hold judgment for today on the comment on Eze, because I'm going to do some digging around that.
You know what, Tom? You're right, because he has mentioned a couple players in regards to them finishing, but he didn't mention those players on their first game. Do you understand? It's like, we know Eze's dream is to play for Arsenal. This guy is clearly our best attacker on the field. I don't care what anyone says. In my opinion, he's better than Odegaard in regards to what Odegaard has shown us over the last year and a half. So if we have our best attacker on the field and he didn't finish a chance, that's not the person you should be picking on, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I hear this. Like, I hear it, and I empathize with Eze. Like, it's his first game and all this, but like, do you not detect a little bit of kind of hypocrisy around this point? Like, we want there to be accountability, right? We want there to be an ownership of what we've done wrong, right? And I think the issue isn't actually to point out that he kind of picked on Eze, or he mentioned Eze in that interview, or he mentioned that particular moment, because he's also said some incredibly brilliant things about Eze from the point that he signed. Like, if you go through all of the interviews he's done since Eze signed, he said some very, very praising things about this guy. Could not speak more highly. And we're focusing in on the one critical thing that he said, in my opinion, that was fair. Like, he should have taken the shot in that moment. Like, he felt contact and he went down, and he shouldn't have done. He had the ball in his control. It was a great opportunity. He's done it a lot of times for Palace, and he should have shot. And and it's not a case of like he now gets benched the next game. It's just, in that moment, Eze had a chance. He should have taken it. In the same way that against Man United, Havertz had an absolute nightmare and missed all those chances in the FA Cup. And I think he mentioned the chances that Havertz missed in that game as well. I know he's definitely mentioned Martinelli's shortcomings in previous interviews as well. So I think the contradiction for Arteta is that he can't turn around and say, when I ask him, was you too conservative your lineup, and say, I didn't have X, Y, Z, when he could have gone, well, we could have potentially made this change or this change. And we all know that Nwaneri could have been played. We all know that Eze could have come earlier. Maybe Odegaard could have come earlier. The issue I've got is highlighting a problem or a miss or a mistake of a player when he himself is not willing to identify a mistake that he himself has made, if that makes sense. That's my problem with the Eze comment. It's not the actual comment. It's the fact that he's not taken ownership in his own error, but he's happy to kind of say an error of another player, if that makes sense.
Agreed. No, I agree with that. I think that makes perfect sense because the same instance. I mean, everyone has their own opinion on Martinelli and certain attackers on the team, Madueke, blah blah blah. Now, for me, he should have started Eze instead of Martinelli. But starting Martinelli is not an issue. Now, if we now go into the second half and you start Eze, or even wait 10 more minutes and then you bring on Eze or Ethan and Wary, then I'm like, okay, he's actually trying to win the game. Do you understand what I mean? I guess it's more about optics because fans, it doesn't look like you're trying to win the game. No matter what you say, the team that you fielded is clearly defensive. And
the only edit that I would make to that point is that I feel like when you say he wasn't trying to win the game, the only edit I'd make to that point is that I'd say he wasn't trying to win the game enough. Because in my opinion, he did go there to win, and he went there to set up to try and snatch a victory. Like, we're trying to outmuscle Liverpool, go there, be combative, win the middle third battle as we did for the majority of certainly nearly all of the first half and for little parts of the second, but Liverpool grew into the game. It was when Liverpool grew into the game that he didn't respond, and he kept faith with what we had on the pitch for too long, and he should have been proactive in making a change. I think he went there to win the game, but I don't think he went there to win the game in the way that we, A, wanted him to, or B, that was more likely to get him victory based upon the players that are available to him. That's kind of where I'm at.
No, very much agree. Honestly, I feel
like when you rang in, I was going to sit here and have to defend a lot of points, but I feel like we've aligned
no, 100%. Because, bro, honestly, I've been watching your content for years.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate it.
I guess it makes sense if we're kind of on the same page. You know what I mean? I would be watching content if I totally disagree. Well,
you'd be surprised, man. People love a hate watch these days, so But so just one more question to you, Dave, before I let you go, is just this result, and obviously kind of the discourse around it. I think we both agree that there wasn't enough done by Arteta in the general to try and win this game more than what he actually could have done. And I think he didn't utilize all the resources available to him to try and win this game. But I still personally think that the discourse after the result has been hyperbole. It is way overblown. And I still think that Arsenal are very capable of going and beating Forest, beating City, beating Newcastle away in the next 3 games, being 12 points from 15 games, which we probably would have taken at the start of the season if offered to us with the 15 points from 18 games. We probably would have taken that at the start of the season based upon the first 6 games that we were offered.
All right, fair enough. I agree. But you know what? I don't think that's the problem.
Yeah.
I think the problem is Arsenal fans expect to win those games. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, they expect to win every game.
I mean, of course. I mean, if you support your team, you should expect to win the game. Now, I don't know how most Arsenal fans felt, but going into the Liverpool game, I felt confident.
So did I,
because of the players that we have in our Arsenal, no pun intended. We had the players to replace Saka and Odegaard. So I'm thinking, all right, Arteta's going to make some move here. You get what I mean, and just be a bit more brave. But he wasn't brave enough, and I think that's the issue. Just not being proactive in your decision making, and I guess playing for the draw. In if you look at it that way, it depends on what way you look at it. But I feel like I do agree with you. It's just there is a bit of
I think that I think there's some that want people to be really angry about kind of what happened, and I was frustrated with the lineup. And I think I did, the match day vlog I did. I think you can see that I just said my optimism evaporated when I saw the lineup come out. Like, I was really on the train all the way up there to Liverpool. I was like, I actually think we can do this. I was texting James McNicholas and I was like, we can absolutely do this. I really feel optimistic. He was like, yeah, me too. There was a real optimism about going into this game. And when the lineup came out and it wasn't Eze, it wasn't Waneri, it wasn't Ødegaard. I didn't even have a problem with Martinelli starting because I think Martinelli's got a really good record there. And if we were going to hit them on the break, he's quite good at that. But I quickly realised during the game that, yes, he can be good at that, but that Martinelli's kind of gone. And he's just really not there. So against Nottingham Forest, barring injury, I want to see Eze on the left, Ødegaard at 10, Gyökeres and Madueke as our front four, because I don't think Saka's going to be back. That's the front four I want to see. I don't want to see Mourinho in midfield. I don't want to see Martinelli starting. I want to see basically, ironically, it's the same team we started at Anfield, just with Eze in for Martinelli and Ødegaard in for Mourinho. It's just 2 changes from that team that went to Anfield. That's the only 2 changes I want to see. But that, I think, just changes things so dramatically for how we play against Forest compared. And if the only thing that I think is the saving grace for Arteta here is that we don't know how ready Eze was 100%. We don't know how ready Ødegaard was to start. And if he maintains and he says they weren't fit to start, I can only take that at face value because I have no evidence to suggest otherwise.
I can't believe the Eze one. Ødegaard, yeah, but I can't believe
and I'm with you.
He traveled from South London to like, come on, man. Let's be for real.
I agree. I think Eze should have started the game, and I put him in my starting 11 before the game. But I have nothing else to go on, Bay. Like I have nothing. I have nothing. Like I can't. I haven't got any evidence. So
just to go back to your question, in regards to like the team and I guess expectations. Now, for me, obviously, Eze not being put on, and in regards to what the Arsenal fans expect, like you said, I think all Arsenal fans expect to win every game. But in regards to the game that we have lost, we don't lose games that often. Last year, we lost about 4 games, 5 games. The year before, 4 or 5 games. You know what I mean? We don't lose that many games. But the games that we have lost, but the games that we have lost, they're like, okay, but you didn't need to make that move. We could have won this game if you did the right thing, or in regards to most fans, I suppose. But if you made a different move in regards to being more attacking or just being more adventurous with your team and just letting them flow a bit, I guess. So I guess it just depends on.
We lost more games. We lost less games last season than the season that we finished with more points in 23-24 because we just drew so many. And that's the area that needs changing. Bay, what an absolute pleasure to catch up, mate, and speak with you. And thanks for your listenership. Genuinely appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Pleasure. One more call to round off today's show, and then we'll wrap things up. And I think, John, this is your first time on the show. Is it your first time?
I believe it's the second, but it's been a long time.
I'm so sorry. That's my memory doing me disservice.
It's been a long time, though. Yeah.
Yes, but you've been a long time listening to the show, and it's always a pleasure to see your name pop up in the chat. You've obviously had a lot of time to listen to what everyone else has had to say. So what is it that you want to say?
It was great hearing Bay. I don't agree with everything he said, but he's a good listen. That's for sure. One of the things that bothered me about this, probably the impetus for me calling, was the guy who was talking about, like, people that are just not giving Arteta any leeway at all this season.
Right.
Like everything, it's got to be invincibles are out, you know. And and the thing that bothers me about that is I just looked up Sir Alex Ferguson's record at Manchester United, and universally acclaimed as the greatest manager ever. And his first 5 seasons, I think he won 1 FA Cup. And it was dominance. And it was 7 seasons, I think, before he took a Premier League title. So, I mean, it's just an example of what can happen if you give people time and you see what they're doing. And I don't think anybody can really deny that Arteta has built this from shambles
from nothing.
When he took over.
From worse than nothing.
And there's certainly no shame in losing to City 2 years in a row when they will be considered one of the greatest teams ever to play in the Premier League as well. I understand that excuses start waning as the seasons go, and people are desperate for silverware. I totally get that. I understand 100%. That. But week 3, I know. Match 3, like let's relax. When I saw the setup we were going to be playing at Anfield, I was a little bit disappointed, but I understood it as well. I figure we have so many players that could provide a spark, whether it's Gyökeres. We can, debate his start or not, but he was brought in here to provide moments of glory, as opposed to Havertz and stuff, which is a little more steady and play the game. We have people that could provide a spark, whether it's Rice in a particular moment or but I think playing sensible, I think Arteta is looking at these top 6 matches and saying, we'll play sensible. We'll play. I feel confident enough in our lineups to defend our goal and get the moments that we need, whether it's through set pieces or whatever. I think we really miss Saka because all of those corners taken by Rice on like as an outswinger were problematic. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent first half. I thought Saliba kind of changed things in Arteta's mind. I don't know what he said post match.
It's not really something we talked about, the Saliba thing. I thought it was a mistake to start him if he had an issue in the warm up personally, but I don't know what you think.
But when he went down, I think that's probably the reason that it took so long to get Eze and Odegaard back on the pitch.
Right. Okay.
I
think
was
Clive
shocked
made that point on the vision. Yeah.
I was shocked that it would be, at the 60 minutes, I thought would be the latest, honestly. And so as the minutes ticked off, I was like, okay, come on. And then, of course, they finally get him on. And then, and I think in some ways, Arteta has a tendency to protect all of his players, whether it's giving Martinelli the benefit of the doubt from past performance against Liverpool and also saying you're still part of this team, to Eze maybe saying, we're not relying on you as a savior, so cool your jets until we bring you on for a moment. I don't know. That just seems the way it was to me.
I think that's fair. I think that I absolutely get your point about with 3 games in and kind of the nuance around it, and also about kind of this expectation around, as soon as we drop points, it's going to turn into kind of a discourse of he's not going to do it, he's never going to do it, and so on and so forth. And the points about kind of how long it takes to build things. People are just fatigued, people are just exhausted. People are just tired of having not won anything. And I think the way in which the fandom is in 2025 compared to what it was in 1995 is that you've got all of this noise, all of this social media hectic chaos that kind of puts pressure on each other. You've got fans of other clubs that are thrust into your face on different platforms that are laughing and joking at Arsenal and so on. And that adds more kind of pressure and frustration around things. And the reality is that for any fans that have been around longer and that have seen where Arsenal have come from and seen where Arsenal were when Arteta took over to where they are now, and to also, if you know other fans of other clubs, it's incredibly privileged to be in a position that we are as a club, to be able to go into each season knowing that we've got the potential to win any competition that we enter. We haven't yet, other than the FA Cup in 2020. But that's not to say that Arsenal are considered to be one of the favourites for any competition that they go into right now, because of what Arsenal are, because of where they've grown to and where they go to. So, and then you get, and Peter obviously raises this point, says the guy spent, more than $1 billion. It's time that he delivers or he leaves. The reality is, Peter, is that in 2025, to go from where Arsenal were in December of 2019 to where they are now, that's how much it costs. Like it's not a zinger for me, the whole 1 billion plus spend. It's not a zinger point, because the reality is that that's just what it costs to get you into position. Arteta didn't have the squad that Klopp had when he took over. He didn't have the squad that Klopp had at the point that Arteta was appointed. He didn't have the squad that Pep had that he inherited. And he didn't have the resources of either of those two managers to start with either. But what he did have was a fractured group sitting in 11th spot when he took over, and with players that needed to be moved on, that were just littered and riddled with errors in every single game, and that with a squad and a team and a hierarchy that was still being changed. He then goes into 2020, 2021 with an unprecedented period where the world goes through a pandemic. Like the whole period of Arteta's tenure to get from where they were to where they are now costs that much, John. That's just the reality. And it's just not a zinger for me, the point about how much we spent.
Yeah, it becomes boring, that conversation, after a while. It's just to me, I'm interested in progression. I want to make sure that we're not maintaining or sliding backward. I want to compete every year. I want to win trophies for sure. But frankly, it's gotten so toxic online, and when I see that, and of course it's going to affect the players. I'm just some dude out in California, but I get all blood pressure high during these things. And I stay off social media for at least a day or two after an Arsenal loss or anything considered disappointing, because I don't need it.
Advice.
It's like, it's kind of ridiculous, because people have a tendency to overhype everything. topic of the day. And I'd rather look at a big picture, look at it after a month or two. I'm more interested to see the response to this. I want to see what we're like when we start playing these lesser teams, because frankly, if we play the way we should against teams that aren't in the top 6, I'm pretty confident we can win the league. The one thing that has killed me over the last few years is losing these crazy games to Southampton or Aston Villa or Newcastle, where we should be winning and we find some way to lose or put in a horrible performance. I want to see that stuff ironed out, frankly.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty confident playing any of the top 6 sides. I don't want any surprises. That's what I don't want.
Yeah, look, I think that Arteta's in a position where, at the moment, he deserves to be, in my opinion. Like, I have no kind of any feeling of wanting to move on from him right now, and that comes from the fact that, as I said before, we go into these seasons as being one of the potential favourites, and I know it's not the same for everybody, but that's enough for me. Like
the conversation is so premature for this season. We accept the fact that Arteta is going to be our manager for this year. Can we just stop and exhale until there is a sizable portion of games played, and then see where we're at, as opposed to
I just want to be competitive, John. That's and I know that not everyone agrees with that. That's just, and if that stops you listening to my opinions, then they're fair enough. But like, at the end of the day, that's just humbly what I want from football, is to be competitive. Whether I'm playing it, whether I'm watching it, whether I'm covering it, reporting on it, I want to be competitive. I want to be in a position where we can compete for every single trophy that we enter. And Arteta's taken us there. And until he's not there, I don't see the reason to move on from him. That's
I agree.
Where my mind's.
I agree. I've set this like this is Arteta's year. I don't like saying if he doesn't win at Liverpool, if he doesn't win at Anfield, this is a must-win game. Really, a must-win game, the third match of the year at Anfield of the champions, and you're going to say it's a must-win. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Just before you go, John,
week,
I've got a couple of vinyls up on my wall. You've put my collection to shame, quite frankly. I have to say.
Sorry.
But I've only got I've got quite a few, but I've only
I'm a lot older than you, Tom. So you have a lot of time.
You've got more years of collection on me. What's your final point, John? Just before we wrap up. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, like I said, I think people confuse like pragmatic approach. They confuse that with not caring whether you win silverware, and I think that's ridiculous. There is no way anybody's going to tell me that they feel more hyped up about any individual game. I wake up at 4:30 to watch in the morning, to watch some matches, on the early starts, and it's because I love the team and I want to watch the game. And when I watch Ben White hold a ball over his head for 2 minutes and I'm getting, my blood pressure is raising because I think he's going to pick up a needless yellow card for not throwing it in on time. I mean, I care as much as anybody, but I also think that if you've watched for any length of time, you should be a little more pragmatic and think long-term. And long-term, I mean the season. I don't mean 10 years down the road, but there's no reason to go into a frenzy over one match against the best team in the league right now.
I think for some people it's just fun to do that. Well, that's just how they get off. I think I do think that's it. That's just for me. That's just it. John, what a pleasure to catch up again for his second appearance on the show. Thank you, mate. I appreciate your time. What time is it?
Thanks so much, Tom.
California. It must be about 3 a.m.
It's 1:30.
What are you doing? What are you doing up at this time, man?
I'm an artist. I stay up late at night and I draw, so it's okay.
Fair enough, man. I respect it. John, thanks for your time. Thanks, man.
Have a good night.
See you later. Thank you to all of our callers today. Yeah, I think we got there in the end. I think we kind of got to the crux of where I'm at. I think I'm at the crux of, that's the crux of where I'm at, is that as a fan, as an Arsenal fan, I want Arsenal to compete for every single trophy that we enter. And some people want more than that, and I don't think it's realistic personally, but that's just where I'm at. As a humble football fan, I just want Arsenal to be in a position where they're competing for every enter. When they go into the Premier League, they can win it. When they go into the League Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, they can win it. And until we're not, I don't see the need to change. And that's my position on it. And until I hear an argument otherwise, I don't really feel the need to change that position either. I think your environment's really important as well. I think that your environment about kind of who's around you is important because, I'm surrounded by fans of other clubs that aren't in the title race. Always. Friends, family, And I think when you maybe are kind of insulated into this title race world, if you like, that is Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, got some Man United and Spurs fans down there you can laugh at. I think it changes the narrative around how we discuss things. So I can't get on that board. And Jade says, I'm sorry, but if you're here demanding more than competing on all fronts, then you must be a new football. I don't know about the new football fans. I think there are a lot of fans older than me that subscribe to that point of view, JD. So I'm not sure if I subscribe to the end of it, but I do agree kind of with the first point, which is Arsenal went to Liverpool to win. I don't agree with how they did it. I don't agree with the changes that were made or when they were made, but I still think that they went up there to try and win that game. I don't for a second believe they went up there to try and just get a draw, because otherwise they wouldn't have had the first half that they had. They wouldn't have had the chances that they had. If we went up there and just sat in and played part the bus for the game, then I think that point would be absolutely valid. If we went up there and just part the bus, as we've seen, ironically, other title-winning managers do in the Premier League and get points, which have helped them win leagues. But if Arsenal went up there and just part the bus, which is what they didn't do, then I think people would have a point. But that isn't what Arsenal did. But what Arsenal didn't do, and what Mikel Arteta particularly didn't do, was A, he wasn't brave enough to start a Waneri or potentially Eze, depending on his fitness. But he definitely wasn't proactive enough to make the changes in the second half to try and take advantage of what they built in the first half. And thirdly, I don't think he took responsibility for that at the end of the game and after the game. I don't think he took responsibility. And fourthly, what I'll say is that he kind of undermined himself with the Dowman substitution. By the way, just a thing. When I tend to move on the camera sometimes, it kind of flitters and glitches on the screen. Is that it's doing that now? Is that happening for you, or is it still smooth? But for me, it's kind of like it goes a bit glitchy. I've only just noticed that now. I don't know if it's been doing that all the way through, but it doesn't do that on my camera, but it seems to do it on... I'm seeing if I can move now so I can promote some sort of glitch. Yeah, it's doing it on StreamYard. It's not doing it on my camera, but it seems to be for you guys, it's smooth and it's not doing that. So I guess I'll ignore it. It doesn't seem to be a problem. Thank you so much as always for tuning in and listening. Really do appreciate it. Oh, someone says it does happen sometimes. Okay, well, mate, I'll have a look. I'll watch it back and see if that changes. But yeah, thank you so much to all of you for listening. Let me know your thoughts on the show and obviously on the opinions that we've had. Let me know why Oliver Glasner should be taken over from Arteta's position. Yeah, I look forward to listening to and reading through some of your comments. I'll, of course, be back with you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow will be our last show for a few days. I'm heading off to Italy over the weekend. So tomorrow will be our last show until Tuesday. I'll be back on Tuesday for the next one. But thank you so much as always for listening. Really appreciate your time and enjoy yourself. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, I'll be Arsenal. And thank you for listening to the first of this new season, the Arsenal News Show.